New Metallica, new album. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you're all doing really well. As always, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be doing something that, well, I've never really done before on this channel because we haven't had any new Metallica music in 6 years. So this is quite a historical moment for this channel, this little channel of mine, I guess you could say, because there's been no Metallica music, like I said, since I started this. And Metallica have always been a big part of this channel, and it's always been a big part of my life. They're my favorite band, as a lot of you guys know. So I've always sort of looked forward to this day when, you know, I could talk with you guys and get a little bit hyped about possible new music. So today we're going to have a little bit of a quick chat about the new single and the album that's coming up in April, I think it is. We're going to chat a little bit about the artwork and possible meanings and all that sort of stuff. So let's get into it. So Monday just gone, right out of the blue, Metallica announced the new single, a tour, and an album, of course, which is coming out April next year. I don't know if you guys saw, but Lars put a little Instagram story up saying that he's going to be on the Howard Stern show. And just the way he kind of worded it, it made me think, you know, kind of, what's coming? Is there some sort of an announcement? Put it completely to the back of my mind. And around late afternoon, sort of evening time, I was just gearing up for band practice and I get a text message off of one of my subscribers and good friends, Glenn, saying new Metallica. And I was like, of course there is. Like, I'm about to head out and I can't even like start to like dive into doing the cover or do like a reaction video for you guys. So, but the excitement was absolutely huge. I rushed downstairs, got YouTube up on the TV, listened to the song. So the single itself, Lux Eterna, it's kind of got like in my opinion, it's kind of got like a Kill 'Em All meets the Load era kind of vibe going on with it, but with kind of hardwired to self-destruct production on it. Very much reminded me of like Hit the Lights, and there's a lot of riffs in there that are actually very similar to Hit the Lights. But I suppose you can rip yourself off, right? I suppose there's one sort of section in the middle, da 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 da. You guys probably know exactly what I'm on about, but when I heard that, I was like, really? Like, you guys are gonna rip yourselves off? But they're Metallica, I suppose they can. But yeah, it was really sort of cool to hear that sort of like old school vibe from them. And the other thing I will say as well, that song really felt like a live performance. It kind of had a looseness to it, even though the production is quite it's quite pristine, it's very clean, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the song, it really had like the vibe of their live shows. And I watch a hell of a lot of live Metallica stuff. You know, they're very prolific in putting up their performances on YouTube and stuff like that. They really kind of managed to capture that live sort of show sort of feel. There's a lot of like chord hangs, and Lars is going on the cymbals and letting things like ring out before going back into the riff. That was very, very cool to hear. You know, listening to the song, I could already picture in my mind what it would look and sound like in a live situation. That's definitely, well, it's the lead single from the album, so they're probably going to be, if not opening the set with that one, they're going to be playing it live at some point. I did actually manage to get the cover out for this song, full guitar cover, so if you want to go and check that out, there's a link down below for you guys. What I will say as well is Hetfield's vocals are very, very cool on that song. I kind of love the way he's singing, kind of like soars on those choruses. The band all together, they just sound good. They sound good, they sound healthy, the production is very clean, maybe a little bit too clean for some. A lot of people already, classic Metallica fans, they're just not happy if they're complaining, right? They're complaining about like the kick drums and how everything's like automated and like sample kicks and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not a drummer. I don't understand how that stuff works. All I know is I heard a Metallica song, it had loads of double kick in it, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm just happy that my favorite band is still doing what they do, and the songs are still good so far. One thing I will say about that guitar solo from Kirk, that is probably the only letdown, I suppose. It's still, you know, going back to the hardwired to self-destruct vibe of just go in the studio and just see what happens. And, you know, it feels very improvised off the bat. And then when he runs out of ideas, scale-wise on the neck, he'll just hit the bar and he'll just start making noise. And, you know, sometimes it is cool to just make noise and stuff like that, but the noise just kind of went on right the way through the solo. You know, apart from like a very sort of quick sort of licky thing at the beginning, the rest of it was just sort of making noise. Personally, I prefer to hear something a little bit more composed, something a little bit more hummable, I guess you could say. It makes my covers really easy to do. You know, I don't know about you guys out there who play guitar, but you know, I know all I need to do for those solos when it comes up is just make a shed ton of noise just to sort of wing it, rather than having to learn something that's a little bit more composed, like take a Disposable Heroes or a Ride the Lightning where everything's very thought out, and that's going to take time to learn. You know, with a solo like this, you know, all you need to do is just maybe switch the wah pedal on and just start yanking on the strings and just hope for the best, right? So I am hoping to see a little bit more composition from Kirk on the album. He's very capable of it. You know, think about Ride the Lightning, Disposable Heroes. Those are all incredible solos, and the way the patterns and things seem to work over the chords that are being played, it's all very well thought out, and I think that's why those guitar solos still stand the test of time even now. I really dig the Kill 'Em All kind of meets Load sort of thing going on. It's like if Hit the Lights and Fuel had a love child, and this was the result. You know, it feels good, it feels positive, it feels strong. You know, so yeah, like I said, I'm just happy that my favorite band's still making music. So that's my overall impressions of the song, Lux Eterna. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the album itself, and the content that's on it, and a little bit about the artwork as well, and the title. Some of that threw me a little bit, but it's all starting to make sense now. So the album is called 72 Seasons. And I think if you put a poll out on Instagram or YouTube or asked your friends or whatever, and you said, what do you guys think the next Metallica album title is going to be? I think that's probably the last thing you'd expect, right? If you think about Hardwired Self-Destruct, Death Magnetic, Saint Anger, Master of Puppets, they're all very direct, right? You know precisely what it sort of means and what it's about when you hear those titles. And if you think about the titles of the first four albums, for instance, and the artwork as well, they're very visually driven. You know, Master of Puppets, the artwork is pretty much what it says. Ride the Lightning, it's electric chair. Kill 'Em All with the hammer and stuff like that. Everything's sort of, you know, it's in your face, you know exactly where they're coming from. With this, it kind of threw me. So I started doing a little bit of math. I was thinking, well, maybe 72 seasons is how long the band have been going. Bang, wrong. 72 seasons comes out as 18 years. So I'm thinking, what happened 18 years ago? I think that landed us in something like 2004 or something. Then I started looking at the album artwork as well. You know, I was thinking, oh, right, I get it. First impressions, there's going to be like a shed ton of Easter eggs maybe that sort of like harken back to like the previous albums. And maybe this album's going to be like an amalgam of like everything they've done stylistically. Which can you imagine? So a song like Lux Eterna, and then you've got a drop G-sharp song like Invisible Kid, and then, you know, you've got a ballad like Nothing Else Matters. But anyway, I don't think that's happening. But anyway, so yeah, the album artwork, I was looking at all the little bits and bobs that were floating around, and I was thinking, oh, right, the Crypt, that's like an Enter Sandman. And I was looking even closer. I'm looking now as I speak, you know, and there was nothing there that seemed to remind me of anything on the past albums. So fortunately, the main man himself has issued a statement or said something in an interview about it. So I'm gonna read the quote now to you guys, and then this kind of made everything make sense to me. So this is James Hetfield himself. He says, 72 seasons, the first 18 years of our lives that form our true or false selves. Concept that we are told who we are by our parents, a possible pigeonholing around what kind of personalities we are. I think the most interesting part of this is the continued study of those core beliefs and how it affects our perception of the world today. Wow, deep. Much of our adult experience is a reenactment or reaction to these childhood experiences, prisoners of childhood or breaking free of those bondages we carry. Wow, man. So yeah, 18 years, the math was right, I guess. I got that far, right? But as far as the meaning went, I couldn't figure it out. So here it is. It's the first 18 years of your life are kind of the, you know, where you're most impressionable, I guess you can say. The experiences, you know, that you have, you're like a sponge from an early childhood up to that age, you know, taking everything in, and you're reacting to everything that's happened to you, right? I think all of this must tie in massively with what James Hetfield's been through in recent years. When I saw them in 2019, he checked himself into rehab straight after the S&M 2 concert, which is good because I guess he knew that worked for him the first time, so he, you know, probably knew it was going to work again. So what I think what's happening is this is all leading us to maybe a little bit more of an in-depth Metallica album, a little bit more of a personal Metallica album, dare I say. And to me, that's when Metallica have been at their finest. If you go listen to like Black Album onward, especially like Load and Reload, Saint Anger, getting the cards out on the table and just saying, I'm not okay. I need help. And if we look down the track listing as well, there's some really dark stuff on there. Like Sleepwalking My Life Away, Darkness Had a Sun, Too Far Gone, Shadows Follow. So I'm guessing there are a lot of those songs quite possibly deal with some dark topics. And like I said, that's when I find Metallica to be at their best. Death Magnetic and Hardwired to Self-Destruct, there's not really a whole lot of songs on there that, have that sort of looking inward, I'm struggling thing going on, like the Saint Anger sort of era had and the Load era sort of had as well. So I'm hoping these songs are going to be a little bit more of a reflection on what James has been through these last few years, right? Obviously he's had to go through a whole self-betterment scheme. And we know a lot of that is tied to his childhood, right? So a lot of you guys probably know that the first couple of years of his life, up until around 18 years of age, I guess you could say, he was brought up in a very sort of indoctrinating religion, right? Where his mind was made up for him. It was already a given, his thoughts on things, that was like, this is what you do, And then when he hit the sort of late era of his childhood and his teens, like both his parents who were, forcing these ideas on him, they both left him in one way or another. So I guess he was kind of left like, now what? And I guess a lot of that, results in the driving force is what became Metallica, the anger, the sadness. And then what just can continue to go along until you hit the Saint Anger period of just bottling everything up. And then, they obviously took that time to sort of look inward and realized, there's a load of stuff from my childhood that I just haven't dealt with, and everything started to splurge out around that time. So I'm thinking because there's been a similar situation with James having to go back through the whole rehabilitation thing, I'm hoping some of that is going to really come out on this album. There's going to be some more sort of in-depth songs and some, I guess stuff that we can all relate to. I don't know about you guys, but I don't really relate to a song like All Nightmare Long or, I don't know, Murder One, because that's about Lemmy, as cool as that song is. Personally, I like music that I can relate to, and I know a lot of you guys are the same. That's why I like Load and Reload so much. That's why I like Saint Anger so much, because those albums, when I was younger, around sort of this sort of period, the 72 seasons period, I guess you could say, when I was like 16, 17, 18, getting into all this stuff. As a very angry young man myself, all those albums in particular seem to speak to me the most because they were dealing with these heavy topics. So I guess with all that in mind now, with the first 18 years of your life being where you're most impressionable, and they kind of set you up for what's to be on the other side of that a little bit, the album artwork is starting to make a hell of a lot more sense now. So, there's obviously the crib there, but, amongst all sort of like the kids' toys and stuff, there's some questionable items, I guess you could say. There's beer cans, there's a knife, there's what looks to be a bottle of pills, all these sort of maybe like questionable things, and maybe there's some coping mechanisms on there, especially maybe the alcohol thing and then the bottle of pills. So if you think about it, there's all like the innocence there, which is kind of burnt, which is the kids' toys. And then amongst that stuff, you've got a load of coping mechanisms. Not that I would recommend a knife to be well, as a matter of fact, I wouldn't recommend any of that to be a coping mechanism, but I guess there's a lot of things on there like the beer cans and the pills and stuff. Especially in James's case, to help him deal with the whole idea of the first 18 years of my life has been absolutely rubbish, and now it's taken off and we're a successful band. But just because everything is successful and everything's going well, it doesn't mean that I haven't got a shed ton of baggage. So all this is starting to make a lot more sense to me on the album artwork now. So that tied in with the quite heavy subject titles for the tracks going down the album list. I'm really hoping for sort of a looking inward, introspective album from Metallica this time round. So there we have it, guys. There's my sort of first impressions of everything so far. So let me know your thoughts. I want to hear from you guys in the comments as always, because I love chatting to you guys. Did you like the single? Is it not really your thing? Are you not a fan of the clicky kick drum that everybody's been complaining about? Gosh, Metallica fans are the worst, aren't they? So far, the album production sound does sound very similar to Hardwired. Did you like that sound, or were you hoping for something a little bit different this time round? I know personally I was hoping for something a little bit different production-wise this time. At the same time, I can't pick fault with it. At the end of the day, My favorite band, like I said, is still putting music out, and I'm over the moon about that. So again, guys, let me know what you think down below about the album artwork, the single, all that stuff. Let's chat about it. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for hanging out today. If you want to leave a like, if you enjoyed it, that's greatly appreciated. And if you also want to click the subscribe button, if you're new, that's of course greatly appreciated as well. So that said, guys, thank you so much for your support. And until next time, stay well, stay healthy, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.